Look, Mr. Littles, I honestly don't care at all about taking more of your money, and my boss feels the same way. He's perfectly fine with continuing to take it, but this case is dull, and I genuinely think you're just throwing your money away. That was Jim Kramer, a private investigator from Lexington. We met at the Park It Drive-In restaurant on New Circle Road. I didn't want to meet anywhere in Winchester, my hometown, because I didn't want anyone, especially my colleagues at the fire department, to know about my meeting with the private investigator. Too many questions if it became public. I'm Raleigh Littles, and as Jim put it, I had spent too much money having my wife, Tracy, followed. I'm a firefighter. I absolutely hate that politically correct term. Here in Winchester, Tracy works in real estate. Yes, at 50, my sex life has slowed down a bit, which I'd hoped wouldn't happen once the kids grew up and left home. 2 24-hour shifts a week meant I was out of the house a few nights, but I still had 5 days off, which should have given me plenty of time for some fun with Tracy. Yes, I guess I robbed the cradle a little, as she's only 42, 8 years younger than me, and at that age when women are at their most attractive. We got married when she was just 18, a shotgun wedding, since I got her pregnant before she graduated high school. Her parents weren't thrilled when they found out their precious daughter was involved with a rookie firefighter in his mid-20s. But honestly, it wasn't my fault they let her attend wild parties when she was still in high school. Okay, they didn't exactly let her go. She'd sneak out to meet up with her equally attractive friends. They knew where to go, drank, smoked pot, and had a blast. And honestly, what else could a guy my age want? The only downside was that I couldn't smoke weed with them since firefighters are regularly drug tested. I knew I was lucky to get the job. It paid far better than what a college graduate in Winchester, Kentucky, could expect. I was of average height, but sturdy for my size, though I barely passed a physical test and had some luck with the written portion. For an eager 18-year-old, I looked pretty good. Good enough to get lucky pretty often, up until Tracy got pregnant. Even pregnant, Tracy was a stunner, and she loved having sex up until the 8th month when she was too bloated to think about it. After Dana was born, I was as horny as ever, and Tracy quickly got back into the swing of things too. We weren't supposed to get back into it that soon, but just a week and a half after giving birth, we were at it again. Tracy was supposed to start birth control soon, but oops, here we go again. No sooner had she gotten back into her old jeans than I injected some of my genes into the target zone, and voila, her fertile personality reappeared. In the first 3 years of our marriage, we had 3 daughters. After that, she decided to get her tubes tied. A smart choice. The first 16 years of our marriage weren't easy. Firefighters made decent money for working-class folks, almost as much as police officers. My EMT certifications and other courses I took, funded by the city, let me get paid at the highest level. Still, I was the only one bringing in money. In 10 years, I became a sergeant, and in another 5 years, I was a lieutenant. I knew I'd never be fire chief. It was just too political a job, even in a small town. Plus, I'd managed to upset quite a few people early in my career and along the way. But when Violet turned 13, Tracy decided she wanted to start working. After 16 years as a homemaker, our teenage girls were rarely at home. You can only dust the furniture so many times. The issue was, Tracy didn't have a college degree or any work experience. So, at 34, entering the workforce, her only options were as a waitress or a store clerk. Thankfully, she went to a real estate agency. Since real estate agents earn commission, the firm wasn't too hesitant to give her a shot. They told her that if she completed the realtor licensing course, they'd hire her. For months later, she finished the course, got her license, and started working. Even though it was 2010, during the worst of the housing crisis, she sold her first house at full asking price in her first month. Even with half of the 6% commission going to the firm, she brought home almost $6,000 that month. In her second month, she sold another house and then another. The commissions were unpredictable, but soon Tracy was making more money than I was. That's when Tracy, the pretty girl, made a return. When money got tight, she started investing in her wardrobe, managing to make herself look both elegant and casual. She seldom wore skirts, opting instead for pants, some of which were jeans and others that didn't quite fit her perfectly. Her blouses were loose enough to avoid looking tight, but still seemed as if they had been custom-tailored for her. This was largely thanks to giving birth at 21. She quickly regained her figure and kept it throughout her 30s. Her mother had experienced the same, so I never worried about her gaining weight. However, selling real estate had a somewhat unusual schedule, as clients weren't always available during the day. This led to evening and weekend work, which meant she was often away on Saturdays and, occasionally, Sundays. Even though I had weekends off, this resulted in Tracy not being at home most of the time. It was during these times that my imagination began to take over. I couldn't help but wonder if Tracy was having fun outside the house. Selling real estate meant meeting numerous men, especially in the evenings and often in empty houses. If Tracy wanted to be adventurous, she had more than enough opportunities. When she started her career in 2010, her clients were mostly married couples due to the lingering recession, which had discouraged single buyers, especially in small towns. Tracy often wished she could have made more money in Lexington, where singles were again buying homes. This was around 2014, when the housing market was recovering. Yet, none of us wanted to live in the city, and I was close to being promoted to captain, which would have been compromised if we moved to Lexington. By 2017, things had started to change. Clark County, where Winchester was located, was much more affordable than Fayette County next to Lexington. Many urban professionals realized they could get much more value for their money in Clark County. Young adults in their 20s wanted city apartments and elegant old houses in Lexington, but those in their 30s discovered the perks of commuting. There were many farmhouses available, and Tracy knew how to market them to younger, single men. As a result, it seemed like, on weekdays and weekends, she was spending time with younger men, most of whom were attractive and earned more than I did. Tracy, who only had a high school education, was meeting with lawyers, brokers, financial planners, and bankers, selling properties at a rapid pace. Things were going so well that she was the selling agent for nearly every home she dealt with, meaning she didn't have to split commissions as often. Don't get me wrong, she never brought home any surprises, and I never once suspected I was getting sloppy seconds. She never came home looking overly refreshed, but there were more nights when she arrived home later than expected, and my attempts to seduce her sometimes fell flat. I couldn't shake the feeling that she had so many chances to cheat, and as my chances for intimacy with her grew fewer, I began to wonder if her itch was being scratched elsewhere. I confided in Floyd, the firefighter and captain of our station. He was just a couple of years older than me, and unlike me, he had a real shot at becoming chief when the current one retired. If that happened, I would likely become captain and rise in my career. Floyd had been divorced twice because he caught both his first and second wives cheating. After becoming captain, his shifts changed to a 12-hour day shift, 5 days a week, and that's when he caught his second wife. She had been cheating during the time when Floyd used to work 24-hour shifts and was often away from home, leaving her time to clean up after her dates. But one day, her lover left too late for her to cover up the affair. Floyd immediately knew something was wrong when he walked in and smelled it. Floyd explained to me that men like him, firefighters, police officers, and military personnel, often find themselves in relationships where they're expected to be sex gods by their wives. But after long shifts, it doesn't take long for someone else, often a lawyer or accountant, to step in. Floyd had lost his second wife to a 62-year-old accountant, who was much shorter and less fit than him. Instead of confronting his wife, Floyd hired a private investigator. The investigator uncovered the full truth, documenting everything, including the identity of the man who had been with her. Although Kentucky is a no-fault state, and adultery only affects alimony awards, Floyd was able to sue the accountant for his actions. The case didn't yield much, though, as the accountant lost his job after being fired for embarrassing his company, and Floyd never saw a penny of the $100,000 he was awarded. When I approached Floyd for advice, he gave me the name of the investigator he'd use, and I decided to act on my suspicions. After 6 weeks, Jim, the investigator, was sitting across from me at a booth in a diner. He handed me a report detailing his findings about Tracy. Mrs. Littles has been seen dining with 7 different men at different restaurants around Winchester. He explained. In each case, the men were potential buyers. 3 of them either purchased a house or signed a contract. After dinner, in 3 instances, she went to her office. In 2, she went straight home, and in 1 case, she went to a store. We also checked the home she was showing, and no evidence of sexual contact was found. We've examined her purchases, and there's no sign of inappropriate spending. I felt a mixture of relief and frustration. The investigator concluded there was no proof of infidelity, yet I still had my doubts. At the end of the day, I thanked him and paid the bill, still unsure whether Tracy had been faithful. Not often do I get to tell a man his wife isn't cheating, Jim said as he handed me the last bill. I walked out, uncertain but determined to go home to Tracy.